Get him, get him.
Oh my God!
Calm down. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here.
Oh! Yeah! Yeah, dude!
Dude.
6 pounds, 11 ounces. Oh.
Oh my. Limp. That's what I've been f***ing waiting for all day.
That's over 6.
True. And that one's,
Oh, here he goes.
go. Good?
That's a big fish.
Full hand on tail. Yeah, it looks sick. Good to go.
Look how broad that thing is.
I wonder if that was the one that followed me in.
Beautiful.
Oh my God.
Holy sh! God. What a beast.
Oh wow. That might be a 4. That might be a 4.
Yeah, it's a 4. You guys show that off too. 4 pounds, 12 ounces. Holy. Oop.
Another good one.
Holy sh! What the? Is that another 6?
Could be.
It's the second giant of the day, proving that point. Oh, oh my God! Oh my God!
Yes!
Big baits, big fish. There we go. 5 pounds, 6 ounces. Beauty! Dude, I'm not even joking. It happened again.
You kidding me?
Nope.
Is it big?
Oh! That's strong.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
That's a fat fish, dude.
4.
Holy. Dude. Holy hell, that's long.
Yeah, it is.
5, 4, 6. What?
Yeah. Just rock.
Got him. Get in here, you. There's another 6. You. That's a big fish.
6'10".
Woohoo!
Little fatty.
Remove ad, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us again tonight. Got a couple of special guests joining us for this show. We're going to recap the New Hampshire Bass Nation State Team Qualifying Tournament from Lake Champlain this past weekend, which was pretty awesome. I'm happy with my result. I know Sean was so-so about his result from Sunday, but he still had a pretty good derb, but Tanner cracked him pretty damn good. So we got a lot to talk about. Before I get into formal introductions, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's here. As always, greatly appreciate it. For anybody that shared the stream, whether it was on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, greatly appreciate that effort as well. It helps more than you know. Do me a favor, whether you're watching here on YouTube or Facebook, leave a like, because that also helps a lot. Just continues to further drive engagement, helps the show grow, and that's always a good thing. So we appreciate anybody that goes that extra mile. Now that we got the necessities out of the way, let's do a quick introduction, and then we got a couple of things to talk about before we talk about the tournament. So we are joined again by father-son duo here, Sean Graves, high school coach, and his son Tanner Graves. So why don't you guys go ahead and take a minute to kind of talk about yourself. Sean's already been here before, so Tanner, you can have honors to introduce yourself first.
I'm Tanner. I fished a bunch of high school stuff growing up, and I skied for a long time, and then this year finally gave it up and trying to pursue this fishing dream now.
I like it. Now, so I know you kind of working on your social media a little bit. You trying to kind of push it, or is it just kind of like there on the side and you're doing whatever with it?
More or less on the side right now.
Okay, I was gonna say if you want, go ahead and give it a shout out for yourself right now. Otherwise, it's entirely up to you, man.
Yeah, no, I'm just right now just posting what I do in life on that thing.
I like it.
So,
and then Sean, you've been here before, but please go ahead and reintroduce yourself.
Yeah, so Tanner is pretty easy on himself there. So he's been fishing with me in tournaments since he was 7 years old. And we've done everything from the Friday nighters to some opens, and he's won 2 junior championships in New Hampshire and 3 high school championships for the Bass Federation. He's attended 2 junior world championships and 2 high school national championships over the years. And then I've been coaching high school bass fishing since 2013. part of the NHIA Bass Fishing Committee. In fact, we had a open high school tournament today on Winnipesaukee. We had 27 boats, which is the biggest one we've ever had for a high school open. So it was awesome. And 20 pounds won today for 8 fish. So that was a great bag.
Nice.
Then we had 18, a couple 17s, a bunch of 16s. So the kids are learning to catch them pretty good. So yeah, I guess that's about it for me.
That's what I like to hear. I tell you what, I really wanted to be there today, but I am just about out of PTO time, and I got my butt thoroughly kicked at work today for all the time I missed last week. Because I'm transitioning from sales to project management, and I'm just in the middle of everything. So gotcha. It's gonna be hard enough missing a day next week for the tournament, but I'll manage. I always do. Before we start talking about the tournament, I do want to take a minute to sing some praise for a couple of guys. And if you guys have anybody you want to do the same for after, by all means, go for it. But for those that follow me on social media, I ran into a bunch of boat issues 2 consecutive weekends prior to leaving for this event. Lost sonar off the back of the boat, couldn't figure it out. The head unit died. That was just a fuse, but never got sonar. And then the following weekend, I lost all power to the black box from my active target. Ended up calling Steve at Bass Fishing Electronics in Auburn, New Hampshire, explained what was going on. They couldn't get me in that week, but they got me in Monday morning. I was there when they opened at 9 a.m., and I was leaving 48 hours after that, less than 48 hours. Call me an hour later. He's like, this is exactly what your problem is, and here's all the options that we can do to get you back up and running. I had some upgrades I wanted to get done anyway, so I kind of swung for the fences and let him go ham on it and spent a pretty penny. But they had everything in the boat done in less than 24 hours and got me back up and running, which was pretty freaking awesome.
For us up in New England, there is nobody better than Bass Fishing Electronics. 100%.
Yep. So correct me if I'm wrong, they've completely rigged out your boat, and you've had it there a couple of times now too, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been there quite a few times. Steve and his crew and Brian, they are absolutely phenomenal. Tanner's had his boat done there. And actually we got some stuff coming up that we're going to do to both of the 2 boats over there.
Nice. I'm hoping that I can get back in there midwinter for another couple of upgrades. But the thing I would really like to get done sooner than later is 2 Raptors, because now without Andrew going all winter, I may or may not have an experienced guy with me that can do the boat and or the truck. Water drawdowns, no docks. It's like, you know what, having 2 shallow water anchors would certainly make my life a hell of a lot easier, especially with trying to guide a lot more through the winter and help pay for that and more. So
yeah, I highly recommend the Raptors. I have a pair of Raptors on the back of mine, and they're top notch.
Nice, good. I have not heard a single bad thing about them, so that's always been the plan. Go that route, and may add a second graph to the helm. I don't know.
I would go with the 8-footers instead of the 10-footers, though.
Yeah, no, that's my plan. If I was going to go more than 8-footers, I would go with Talons. If I had even, I don't know, I had one on my Skeeter, and they weren't bad, but they weren't great. They're loud, they're wicked heavy, and I don't really want to give up that much. So it's like, I mean, if I'm going to go that route, I'd go to 2 15-foot Talons. But
I have 0 issues in my 10-foot Talons, but they are noisy and they are heavy.
Yeah, very noisy, very heavy.
We had some Talon. Our Talons on our old boat was nothing but problems. Like, things would always creak. They're always at the shop. But the 2 I have on my boat right now have been perfect.
Nice, good. That's what I like to hear. So, that's awesome. You guys are getting some upgrades. I'm going to get some upgrades. We'll get it done. But if you guys are interested, seriously, if there's anything you want done to your boat, there is nobody better in this region. You need to check in with Bass Fishing Electronics, again, in Auburn, New Hampshire. Give Steve a call. They will set you right. They've got a phenomenal team over there. Actually, on top of that, too, it's not just new stuff and installations that they do, but they also usually have a really good selection of very gently used everything. And he actually just posted about 2 hours ago a bunch of stuff that they have up right now, from trolling motors, Talons, Raptors, every friggin' model and brand of a sounder that you could ever want, or MFD. Like, I'm speaking about this like work terms. Fish finder, the screen. There you go. So you got a ton of options over there. And second to that is Ben Stackleshack and Lester Mass. I usually am good about keeping my boat stocked appropriately for everything I need, and then realize that I had next to nothing for drop shot stuff, and I usually do well with that up on Champlain. I did not have time to get down to the store, but I called Dan. I explained exactly what I was looking for, what I needed. He took care of me, got it all shipped, sent me an invoice. I had it all the next day. Kind of the beauty about only being about, an hour and a half away anyway. So it got there next day easy enough without paying an arm and a leg on shipping costs. But it was awesome. Just able to give him a ring, tell him exactly what I needed. He got all my terminal tackle I needed and a couple of baits too. It's actually the second time he's done for me this year. So Ben's Tackle Shack in Leicester, those guys are awesome, especially Dan over there. So if you ever need something local, you want to shop local, support local, I strongly encourage you to take a look at Ben's. But those are the two guys I really wanted to point out because they both helped me out in a pinch getting ready for these tournaments. And I really greatly appreciate the help they can do for me in the very last minute. Nobody ever plans for issues like I ran into electrical wise on a boat. So that's usually, money aside, it's just difficult to get that amount of work done in such a short amount of order. So that I was able to call those guys and explain, like my dire situation, and I had a little wiggle room, but they were able to work inside of my preferred window, and we got it done. And I'm forever thankful for them helping me out. So if there's anything that you guys want to plug, by all means, go for it. Otherwise, we can start talking tournament shop.
Well, I got two things actually. One, I got a 52-inch Ultrex for sale and a 45-inch Ultrex for sale. If anybody's interested, just let me know. And then Drop Shot Jock. If you haven't heard of it, check out dropshotjock.com.
Dude, I am so glad you brought that up. I literally have nothing but Drop Shot Jock on all my spinning rods, and I refuse to use anything else. And I've every time I've explained it to somebody and they see it, they're like, "Holy crap, that's the smartest, dumbest thing I've ever seen." It's like
100%.
At some point, we all looked at that hook keeper and we're like, it'd be great if I could do this with it, and nobody did. And all of a sudden, those guys were like, you know what, we should just do this. And when everybody saw it, like, oh my God, why the hell didn't I think of that before? That's like
100%.
the simplest, most elegant solution to a problem. And it still works great for everything else. I have a little bit of a problem with like bigger, bulkier jigs. But that's rare on my spinning setups anyway. But oh my God, for drop shot and anything else that's small hanging on there, dude, those things are worth their weight in gold.
Yeah,
I literally have one on every single one of my spinning rods and every single one of my bait casters.
I don't have them on all my bait casters yet. There's a few that I need to buy a few more so I can get them on there. Because if it's the hook keeper that it just kind of protrudes off the rod, but you can slide up underneath it.
Yeah,
I won't put it on those until that hook keeper breaks off. But if it's like a closed half loop where you have to put the hook point through, I would put a drop shot jock on those, because depending on what I'm throwing, like if it's a Texas rig or something, then like I hate constantly taking my hook off, putting the hook through and over and over again. Versus drop shot.
It saves the amount of soft plastics you save by not having to keep pulling the hook in and out is worth the $7 for the drop shot jock.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Wholeheartedly agree. So, all right. I'm glad we were able to bring them up because I almost forgot about them, but they are awesome and I appreciate you bringing them up. But all right, enough out of all that. We've talked a little bit about guys that helped us out, some sponsor stuff, introductions. Let's talk a little bit about what happened this weekend at the New Hampshire Bass Nation State Team Qualifying Tournament up on Champlain. And for those that aren't aware, we launched out of Apple Island Marine, which is on the very southern end of South Hero. It's come across Burlington, drive across the causeway, and as soon as you hit South Hero, the ramp is right there. So essentially launching inland sea side of the lake and being able to access everything on the northern side. It's a great location. Aside from maybe Plattsburgh and launching up in Missisquoi, I'm not sure if there's another big ramp up there that can handle that amount of boats and still get access to the northern end. But great location, nice ramp, easy parking, couple of docks. Can't ask for much more than that. And the weather was nice. And for me personally, for what I was looking for, it was almost too nice. I had a much better time scouting than I did come tournament time when the winds damn near completely slacked off.
I agree.
So I got up there Wednesday, like around 12:30. We were finally on the water, right around noon. What time did you guys get up there and start scouting for the week?
I was up there Thursday. I want to say Thursday, probably 2:30, 3 o'clock around there. All
right. Sean, same time for you, or were you there earlier?
No. We had a high school tournament last Thursday on Winnie. And so as soon as we got done weighing, I drove up to Champlain, so I didn't start till Friday morning.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, were you guys up there at all, like the weekend or weekends prior?
I hadn't been up there in 2 years.
Holy crap! It's really been that long for you?
Yep. The last time I was up there is when Tanner and I fished the TBF Open up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
In the
for
spring.
some reason, I would have assumed you'd be up there a lot more often because you're an hour closer to it than I am.
Yeah, I'll tell you that we're running 2 singles trails, our Friday night trail, and then the high school stuff. It's hard to get that much time just to, to jet up there. It's 3 hours for us.
Oh, okay. So it's almost same drive time from my house to get to Apple Island Marine is 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's exactly what it
about
is.
the same.
Yeah.
Interesting. I figured you guys
250,
being on right there on 91, it wouldn't be as bad.
It's like 3:30 to St. Albans, and like I don't know. We launch on the Vermont side down by Ty, and it's about 2 hours.
Yeah, that's not too bad. The Larrabee's ramp.
No, Chipman Point.
Chipman Point.
Oh, okay. If I go out Ty side, Vermont side, yeah, Vermont side near Ticonderoga, I always go to Larrabee's. The only thing I hate about that is there's like next to nothing for parking.
Yeah, same with Chipman, but I mean, there's normally nobody there, so.
All right, I got you. All right,
But I mean, since Tanner he's 22 now. Since he was 7, we used to go up to that St. Albans area for the LCI every year.
Oh yeah.
So we've been around that area quite a bit over the years. And my wife's uncle has a cottage on St. Albans, so we would we'd stay right there in the water.
Hey,
And
can't beat that.
no, so I mean,
We never really left St. Albans though. 'Cause
No.
we had a small tractor at the time,
but so I mean, we're pretty familiar with, from Apple Island to what is it?
I think I've seen Butler is the one with the little cove in there.
Yeah. So what's the Woods?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Woods. Yep.
yeah, that area there we're pretty familiar with.
I mean, I've seen the whole lake now, except from Plattsburgh to like 40 miles from Ty. There's one section there I haven't gone through yet because I just there's no sense of it. I might as well drive up.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I don't think anybody really fishes that section, and it's just a lot of deep water.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. There's some coves, but
yeah. Did you say Ed Laughlin from the Elites?
No, Ed Logren.
Ed Logren? Who's that?
He won the BASS there. 40 miles.
Okay. I'm 99% sure I know where he was, and he was a lot closer to Ty than I.
Yeah, he wasn't. He's only probably 20 miles.
Yeah. All right. I guarantee I know where he was fishing because when he was explaining it, I didn't have to see the background, and he was like, "I'm about 30 miles from Plattsburgh, and I was fishing this kind of structure." I'm like, "Mother effer, I know exactly what he's fishing because I love fishing those spots."
Yeah.
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 Okay. Well,
same. I watched Seth day one, and he fished a lot of stuff that we fish a lot, and I was like, "Damn."
So it's funny you bring that up. Before we get into the specifics of how we were, how the three of us kind of went through and tackled everything. There's like the very, very, very top end of St. Albans. I've always wanted to fish, and when I came up for the BFL last year, the wind was already like awful, and it looked like it was going to be even worse for the tournament, which it was. But I was like, I really want to check St. Albans. I want to find a largemouth bite. So I went like out towards the mouth and working on Burton Island and stuff, but I didn't fish the top end. That was the first time I'd ever been up there. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother going up all the way up top because I didn't think I'd even be able to get to that side of the lake on the other side of the gut. Never mind all the way up into St. Albans. So I didn't bother.
Right.
So same deal when I came up for the BFL this year. The wind was again gonna be a problem. Like I'm not even gonna bother going over there because I can get there now, but it's gonna take me forever. So I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah,
So
if it's a south wind on that end of the lake, forget about it.
Yep. And so for this tournament, it was actually nice. Like even with the wind, it wasn't even that windy, but it was kind of windy Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but it was totally manageable. So I was like, nice, I can go way up into St. Albans. And I'm up there and I get to like that big dock in the marina. And I was like, oh yeah, Fighter's fishing here. And they got Mega 360. So I was like, oh, that's what he was fishing. That's cool.
The iron.
The iron.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude, that was gnarly. There was some big fish hiding in there, but for the life of me, I couldn't get him to bite. Plus that water.
They're
was
always there. They're just
so
right.
What that is that's an old water intake pipe thing.
All right.
That's there, and it is the most jagged, metalish, horrible line wrecking place you could ever fish.
Yeah.
I lost 2 jigs in 10 minutes, so I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, you kind of got to plink around the side and just wait for one to swim out, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
No,
That's definitely a
funny
community
getting up there.
hole there.
yeah.
That's what I figured. Anytime you're near the shore and near very easily identifiable structure in the form of a big marina like that, anything within a couple 100 feet of it is I'm gonna always consider a community hole.
Yeah,
that's easy
so
stuff to find.
that marina's only been there about 5 years.
Really?
That never used to be
That,
there.
yeah, so that marina was never there, and you kind of had to know where that stuff was ahead of time. There used to be a tire and a little buoy there, but if you didn't know that stuff was there, you'd have never known it was even there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We've
All
been
right,
fishing
fair enough.
it's
Well,
been there forever.
20 years.
We've been fishing it for 20 years.
Well, you've been there since 7 years. Well,
15.
15 or 16 years.
I've caught some nice ones over the years off that spot.
Nice. All right. Well, anyway,
But it gets,
it
gets pounded like bad.
Yeah.
You got to get lucky and get there and right timing, pretty much.
Yep. Yeah. There's I'm not going to get too specific, but there's one rock that I found running into a certain area, and that was the BFL first day I was up there. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to stop way out here and just drift and scope around the whole way in and see if anybody's out deep, working up to that shelf. And I drifted maybe 100 feet, and all of a sudden, boom, I found this one beautiful boulder, like right on the knuckle from like kind of deep water to deeper water. You guys know, I guarantee you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm like, oh, look at that. Yeah, near it. And
Yeah, I know exactly. I know exactly where it's at.
so
Yeah.
I spot lock and I scope, and I'm like, this is fucking great, because that's the first time I ever fished over in that spot. Like, out of all the years I've driven by it, I've never stopped there because
I know exactly
I
what
never
you're
did.
talking about.
So I spot locked on it, and there was like 4 or 5 tanks on it, and I dropped down and I got one that was like 3 something, so it wasn't huge, but
Were they all 2-pounders this week?
No, dude, there's nothing but rock bass. I stopped there on Wednesday.
I got 2-pounders and rock bass off it this week.
Yeah, it's like I didn't even get a smallmouth. It was just all rock bass. I dropped down, I felt dunk and a reel in. I'm like, oh, that's a rock bass, and you can see the whole cloud come off the rock. You're like, oh, fuck this.
Had that happened a couple times today at Winnie.
That does not surprise me. That place is bad. At least they're native in Champlain.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find on, I guess, I don't know, on Champlain, if you can find some individual rocks, you can find fish.
Yeah, and that's the thing I've always done well with.
If you spend some time graphing and you find individual rocks, I mean, I don't even care how deep it is, you'll find quality fish in Champlain, I think.
I agree with that. So that's actually a perfect point to segue into kind of what all 3 of us individually were looking for when we went up there. Game plan was, how it may have shifted based on the information you were finding and how the fish were reacting, where they were or were not positioned. And I'll just start with it really quick to segue off your point. I love fishing deep water, and I usually do very, very well with it very consistently. Something about this year, I've struggled a lot. And it's because I was chasing that smelt pattern like I've always done for many years, and the smelt just aren't there like they used to be. And I was talking to some random guy on a different lake in southern Vermont, probably about 4, 5, maybe 6 weeks ago. And he was like, well, it's because of the warm winters, man. Like, the smelt spawns are just not getting off good, and the numbers have dramatically decreased the last couple of years. And it clicked. I was like, holy crap, that actually does make sense. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. It'd be nice to get like a fishery biologist involved again, but it totally makes sense based on what we're seeing. So the way I would tackle it, like, I've had to completely change my perspective and kind of mindset for what I consider deep, because it's definitely shifted a little bit. So still going out there for the BFL, like, I went after that smelt nail wife bite and white perch bite. Like, I was trying to chase that deep, and I couldn't get it going. Like, every spot that I looked at, I think I was just on the wrong side of either side of it. Like, I need to get in the middle of where I was looking, and it probably would have worked out. But yeah, dude, that super deep bite, like, finding those individual boulders offshore, like really close to steep banks, like nice rock chunk, then it's like clean sand. You get that one random boulder. It's like, that's money every time. And I could not find fish on that crap for the life of me. And the same thing played out here.
I was out in like 50, 60, and there was walls and walls and walls of alewives, and smelt or whatever. I think they were 90% outlaws, but there was some schools that like smelt.
Yep.
Not a bass around.
It's weird.
I
And
was like, what the heck?
the
I
thing
really
is,
dropped the trolling motor on a spot I thought was going to be good, and there was just walls, and I was like, where are they? And they weren't there.
yep. And most of the places I fished so far this year looking for that, once the time became appropriate, I haven't found walls of bait yet, except for Champlain. There's a couple spots I did, but yeah, the bass around it, unless I was convinced or positive it was yellow perch, like I couldn't find them around it. It's been weird. It seems like they've really kind of shifted, but that's what I found so far. But I also haven't put as much time into it the second half of this summer season because the first half of the summer season just did not pan out well at all. I'm like, F this. I'm gonna go after like that mid-depth yellow perch bite instead for the rest of the year. I'm done trying to chase that smelt bite. So I've been seeing that literally everywhere. Any body of water that like smelt is the primary forage, and yellow perch is secondary. Like yellow perch has been primary.
Yeah, yellow perch is what I was doing. Yep.
So again, I'm going to reiterate this. I know we talked about in private before the stream started, but for everybody else that's watching here, they benefit. Like when it comes to tournament shop talk, we never give away 100% of everything, and I never ask of that of anybody.
I probably won't.
So I just want everybody to clear that, when Andrew and I and, now Dennis and I were doing this, we give away about 95% of everything that we know. When it comes to tournament talk, it's usually like 40 to 50%. So there will never be outright lies, but there's going to be a certain point where it's like, that's the most I'm going to be able to tell you. So just understand that, please. And but at this point, this is probably the like 20 or 30th time we've done like tournament talk shop talk. But I always like to bring it up every time just to set expectations very clear from the get-go.
So I'll be 100% honest right now. I'm good with it.
Do it.
So I hadn't been there in 2 years. I don't know.
On the northern section.
We
fished a Thai tournament this spring.
I don't know how many dozens of waypoints I have up there. And I had 1 day of practice. And so I ran my waypoints anywhere from 20 to 40 feet of water. And man, I wish I had a live scope transducer off the back, so I wouldn't have to get up every 200 feet to put my trolling motor back in the water and look. And then I did not even fish for I didn't fish for one smallmouth the entire time in practice. I just put the live scope in the water, looked to see if they were there. And, from past experience, I kind of knew that these particular rocks had quality fish on them. And so I ran that. And then I had a couple of marinas that I wanted to hit. And I found a really sweet milfoil patch. And I really thought I was going to weigh in more largemouth than smallmouth when I did it. And day one, when I rolled up to the first 5 rock piles, there was nobody home on it. And then I have a boulder about the size of my Tundra, and it was loaded. And I caught a 3.5, a 3, and a 2 3/4, something off of that. And then I ran over across the lake from the inland sea to the Plattsburgh side, and there was nobody home in the grass. And then the other part of the marina, when I was practicing, I flipped in, I caught one 3.5, and there was literally like 8 with it.
Oh my God.
And so day one,
he had a juice largemouth haul, but we were talking about maybe sharing it, and then I decided to run my own thing, and I never even went over near that area.
And day one, when I got there, the wind was a little bit different, and so the largemouth were not quite set up the way that they were supposed to be. And then so I came in with 15 and change the first day, and then the second day I started.
Why don't we just do one?
Oh,
day
all right. Go ahead then. Yeah, that's
just day one. Well, all 3 of us will cover day 1, then we'll go on to day 2.
All right,
Sean, you go with day 1, and then I'll do my day 1.
All right. So I will say that I did the BFL and I got my teeth kicked in, and that was like, it really shouldn't be embarrassing, but my God, dude, I still have trouble getting out of my head. Like, I felt that was an embarrassing performance, and I was on it. I just kept breaking
We've
them
all
off.
been there though.
It happens. Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. More often than not, we're the nails. But I wasn't just the nail. I was the nail that you hit like one time wrong and it bends, and you just like, let's just beat the piss out of it until it lays flat. Like, I was that kind of nail in the BFL.
Yeah. Dude, I've had those days where you just like great practice or something, and you pull up and you can't do nothing right, or even worse. We had a tournament in Thai last year where it was the first time we'd ever fished Thai. Like, we showed up and just like fished. It was like a practice tournament type of thing.
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago, maybe it was. I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago because we fished this year. And we had like, there was a 6 fish limit. We had like 18 and change on day 2. So like, not terrible, you know.
Yeah,
not great for Thai, but
respectable, but
it's
right, yeah, for Thai, you need like 4s.
Oh, you need better than 4s now, but
yeah.
I've been there quite a few times now. I figured some stuff out, but we had day 2. We ended up weighing like 15, but we literally had enough to win the tournament on. Like, I lost a 5-pounder on a chatterbait. Dad lost literally the thing. You know, when they come up to the surface, but they're kind of still on the side, just like dogging, but like on the like a 5.5, and then lost another 5-pounder.
That sucks.
And we had a couple good ones, but nothing to really go with it. But that was like just one of those things where it's like, we could have had this, but we have this lousy bag.
Yep.
And that's happened so many times over the years. I don't know how many. I fished hundreds of tournaments with my dad, so
we all got to go through it at some point. Like, every
100%.
once in a while, we just got to have a really, really bad tournament. I haven't had a bad one in like 10 years. That BFL was pretty bad.
Yeah,
but
this weekend just, I mean, I guess I couldn't do no wrong in a way, but could have went horrible too. You know what I mean? So
right. Well, so I did the BFL, and, you know, kind of what I said earlier, I was out there looking deep, trying to get like a really good smallmouth bite going, because I love doing that. I usually do well with it, and it didn't pan out. And, you know, I wasted 2.5 days of scouting before I kind of figured out, like, oh, like, we'll say 8 to 20 feet was really good for me. The way I like to fish, I can make it work. So then I was when I got up there Wednesday at noon for the STQT, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start there. And if they're still doing the same damn thing, then this is going to be great, and I can maximize my time over the 2.5 days I have. And if they're not, then that's okay. Then I know they're going to be on either side of that, and that's going to still further help me narrow it down. First 5 spots we hit was just perfect. Like, literally all the same stuff I was using the BFL, but this time I was landing everything. We'd pull up on a spot. I'd try 1 of 3 things, and we'd get 1 to 2 quality fish in the boat, like, within minutes. It's like, okay, nope, we're out. Let's go to the next spot that I know has that same pattern of structure. And we just ran that throughout scouting, and it just, like, it literally never let us down the whole time. So day 1 for the tournament, I had an idea. I had 1 of 2 spots, and in hindsight, and I only think this because of what happened, I never would have known, I gambled. It was either Vermont side or New York side to start. And I was like, well, I'm going to go to the Vermont side because I'm pretty sure the first spot that I had was fairly well known. I had a high draw number. I was like, let's just hope that I can get up there. And I got lucky. I got there. There was nobody anywhere near me for the first hour. And it panned out kind of okay. I got 2 3-pound largies. And then Tanner Thompson, the high schooler that I had for my co-angler, he got a 3. I missed that fish on 2 consecutive casts. He was on a boulder and flipped in a little Jika rig and dunk, missed. Flip it back in, dunk, missed. And he's like, do you mind? I'm like, no, dude, go for it, because I can't catch him. His first pitch in, he catches it. I'm like, okay, as long as somebody got it, I really don't give a shit. So, and then
Tanner Thompson was on my boat for today for the high school tournament. He's a good kid.
Yeah, he's a really good kid.
He's gonna be a good fisherman down the road.
Yes, he is. It was a lot of fun fishing with him, but I was stoked that I missed it twice, and I probably could have picked up something else and flipped back in there because that fish was fired up. But he was like, "Do you mind?" I'm like, "You know what? No, go for it." Because he only had 1 fish at that point. I had 2, and so he
told me that story today.
Did he really?
I asked John if I could cast up there, and he's like, "Yeah, no, go ahead." And he told me that story today. He definitely appreciated that.
Good. I'm glad, dude. Like, well, let me finish day 1, and then so nobody here can see him, but my best friend Chris is in the background. He always helps manage comments and stuff, and he was asking me a bunch of questions about the tournament, so I can provide a little perspective from like someone that understands fishing but isn't an angler, and it'll play into what you just talked about, Sean. So anyway, I went and ran those spots, and it was a lot of the Beast Coast Open Water Sniper MB Sexy Melon with a Little General on the back. That was crushing them in scouting, and then nothing during the tournament. It was weird. I didn't catch a single keeper that I take that back. I caught one keeper, but I ended up calling him out on day 2. I didn't catch a single one that I weighed in at the tournament, day 1 or day 2 on the sniper. But drop shot with just a little green pumpkin back scent minnow, and some other. I'm gonna think about this before I talk about it because I'm really keen on what I caught them on. But all right. So
no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Don't give away your stuff.
I'll give away one half of it. A wobblehead jig, a swing head jig.
I heard you talking about it, but I wouldn't say nothing about it.
Dude, I was throwing it on my flipping stick, a 7.6, extra heavy fast, with straight 18.6 pound or 18.4 pound fluoro from Defiant, their heavy cover, so it's heavy line, and a 5/8 ounce wobblehead, and I was throwing a craw type trailer. Dude, they were crushing the hell out of that thing. All for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Sunday, I never got a single bite on it, and really had to go super finesse on
the
my
wind
fish.
needed to blow a little bit.
God,
make
I
it
couldn't
easier.
keep off it. Yeah, it was weird. Like, and my live well was full of a bunch of crawfish, but I couldn't get them to touch anything skirted. The moment I threw something at them that wasn't skirted, and dude, they were all over it. It was nuts. But I like that 7.6 like kind of flipping stick. It's like my really heavy jig rod, but it's also kind of fun for throwing like, you know, heavy spinnerbait or like a heavy swim jig with like a big swim bait trailer in the back. And I'm looking at my combos. I'm like, you know what? I really want to throw a wobblehead. I'll throw it on that rod. It's not a high speed reel, but it's straight 18 pound. It's a heavy stick. So even if I like crack them on stretchy line or like semi slack line, I'll be able to pin that. I didn't miss a single fish on that thing. And I caught that 4.33 smallie on day 1 on that. And he was only 20 feet from the boat. I saw him I'm like scoping around and I saw him. I'm like, oh, that looks good.
Dude, I got
Flip it out in front of me and he just donk. Do it. Go for it.
So day 1, I found, so in practice, I got there at like 3, and at like 3:30, I'd found the spot that I basically caught 8 out of 10 bass on. When I rolled up in practice, I panned over and there was just a pile of them there. I caught one bass. It was 420 or something like that. And I was like, uh-oh, that's a good sign. And then I kept going around in the same general area. I caught another 4-pounder and I left.
Yep.
And I never came back until I found some other stuff that was like pretty decent. I never came back until like Friday at like, what do we got for 5?
Yeah.
So probably 4 o'clock. I just checked it. They're all still there and I left. Nice. And my first cast of the tournament, I dropped the trolling motor and I turned my live scope on at the ramp for whatever reason, and I never do that.
Yep.
I turned it on at the ramp and I literally dropped the trolling motor water, hit play, and looked over, and there's one sitting like right off the tip of the boat because I came in a little hot. I flip over there and the thing eats it, and it was like 420 something. Oh, and I was like, oh boy, this is bad. First cast, I'm screwed. You know what I mean? I'm like,
pack it up now. We're done. We know how this goes.
I said, dude, that's not good. I just caught one on my first cast, and it was a big one. And for like the next hour, just caught one after another, and most of them were 370 or better.
That's awesome.
And I had two 3.25 left. I remember at like 1 o'clock on day 1, and I was like, dude, I need to get rid of these fish in order to like have a shot at winning at least. I had like high 18, and I was like, I need to get rid of these fish in order to win, like at least have a shot at winning and qualifying. So I rolled back up to that spot in the afternoon, and I caught a 4.870 largemouth.
Nice.
Which it was a smallmouth spot, and then I caught a 360 out of a grass spot. That was a different spot, like in the afternoon.
But it's funny that spot we've caught 4 largemouth over 4 pounds on that smallmouth spot over the years.
I've got a spot like that. I've got a spot like that. Actually, not too far from you guys, but in Vermont, and you probably know it. I think Sean, you and I have talked about it.
We're gonna go Bombazine.
I'm not gonna say names of lakes, Sean. You know how this goes.
Every time I've driven by that lake,
I gotta go to that place.
I've driven by that lake. I don't know how many times on my way back from Thai, and I'm just like, if I'm gonna drive this far, I'm going to Champlain.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's plenty of spots I have like that. It's like, if I'm gonna go that far for this place, then I'm gonna go the extra 30, 45 minutes to this place because it's 10 times better, and it's always 10 times like it's just
like I went wakeboarding on Bombazine one time, dude. The milfoil I was drooling. I was like, I need to at least fish this one time, but
here's the thing. That's every lake in Vermont. And I'm not joking. I have yet to fish a single pond in Vermont that hasn't been phenomenal. And I'm not exaggerating because I've fished probably 15 different ponds in that state, and they've all been awesome. And
really,
we talked about this, God, probably a year and a half ago. DJ, my buddy DJ Colisi, he's 3D_fishing on Instagram.
Yeah, 3D fishing. I know him.
Yep, and so he's spent like the majority of his time fishing in Vermont, and he was for years convincing me. He's like, dude, come to Vermont, it's better than New Hampshire. And finally I went, and I've never looked back. And one of the things that we talked about was there seems to be consistency with lakes that have pike that also produce a much better than average size quality largemouth.
I have a question.
And I was like, that, New Hampshire, there's not that many pike infested lakes. I mean, they're intentionally have a lot of pike, but they've all got bigs.
Yeah.
Like, okay. There's something to that.
Yeah.
What's your question?
Now that you say that, I agree. Does Bombazine have pike?
Oh yeah. I'm positive they're native to everywhere in Vermont because there has not been a single body of water.
Yeah.
Bucket biologists.
Yeah. No, dude, literally every lake we've been to in Vermont has them.
Yeah.
With maybe the exception of one. We went to one that's really not too far from you guys, which small. I'll tell you about it after. You should really check it out.
Past Brattleboro, like that way?
Yeah. It's a trout pond. There's big rainbows in there, but there's donkey largies in there. It's like up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fished some ponds that way, but I can't say it was the same one. Like a long skinny pond or like a lake?
Yep. No. Pond. Long skinny, north-south line. But that, like, I'm pretty sure there's no pike in there. I could be wrong. But I tell you what, the number of like 4 to 5 pound rainbow trout that we saw swimming around below the surface was just absolutely insane.
Yeah, we got some lakes like that near us too.
Yep.
I caught one on a minnow this year actually at our home lake, and I was in like 20 foot, and the thing ate it at the trolling motor.
What, a pike?
No, like a 4.5 pound rainbow.
Hell yeah!
It was like 19 inches.
Did you keep it?
I did. Yeah, I ate it. It was pretty good.
They're
not the best, but they're okay. They're edible.
Yeah, I've caught a couple, and I've let Andrew. I've never taken one home, but I've let Andrew take home, I think, 2 or 3 of them. And he's like, the last 2 that I caught that we kept came out of Newfoundland, and they were both like 3 to 3.5 pounders.
Oh yeah, we had a tournament there earlier this year, and we walked some good ones there.
I caught lake trout there.
Yeah,
I caught a couple of lake trout. Or not Newfound. No, the other one.
Oh, Merry Meeting. Sorry.
No, yeah, Merry Meeting.
Sorry.
Merry
I caught more lake trout than smallmouth that place.
Yeah, that place has got a lot of them. There was the only lake trout I hooked into at Newfound because I just know because it's like whoop, 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 as soon as you hook into it.
Yeah.
Christ, 7 or 8 years ago, and I was out there in November, like, this is gonna be good. I know what I'm doing about cold water fishing. Yeah, I got skunked, but there was one fish I hooked that took me for a ride, and the whole time my rod's just going nonstop for like 30 seconds. I was like, how do I land this? And it was on a blade bait, and he just came unpinned in the end anyway because I didn't adjust my drag. I would like to know how big that.
You catch any drum this week?
I did. I feel like I kind of hit the grand slam on multi-species.
There you go.
So day one, Brandon Lyon was traveling with me. He caught one of the biggest friggin' pumpkin seed I've ever seen. Dude, this thing was
got a giant too.
Plate. That's awesome. I have come to appreciate like truly giant panfish, and this thing was the biggest I've ever seen. Dude, I'm telling you, the thing was huge. And then I caught like
I thought
probably
it was
a
a
6-pound cat. That's what he thought too.
Dude,
And
I could have swore it was like 1.5 pound smallmouth.
Yep, he was saying the same thing. He's like, "Oh, I got a tiny smallie, but it feels weird." Then he gets in the boat. We're both like, "Oh my god!" I was on the phone with a customer, and he pulls that thing up, and I'm like on the phone, I'm like, "Oh my god!" But let's see. So I caught probably like an 8-pound drum on a teeny tiny Ned rig. That was fun.
That's I caught a 1593 on a Ned.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's huge. That's bigger than one I've caught. I think my biggest I've caught was like 13.
Honestly,
pounds.
I probably got it in the boat in less than 3 minutes though.
Nice.
And I was at 8-pound line, and I got a northern pike story day 2 that I don't know if it's ever happened to anybody ever, but
I got one for you too.
I literally almost got knocked out by a pike.
Oh yeah, I forget you telling me about that. So to answer, I got the drum. It was probably the third biggest I ever caught. I caught like a 6-pound catfish on the open water sniper. That was fun. That was the last day of scouting. And
is that shallow?
No, he was on top of Gull Reef, like the community holes, all community holes. So probably in that like 20-foot range. He was close to the top, the peak of it. Like, but the weirdest thing about that was the whole way I'm reeling it in, I had no idea what the hell it was. And as it got really close to the boat, we could see it. We're like, why does that look weird? What the hell did I catch? And then finally it got just a little bit shallower, closer to the boat, that we could see there was like a 4.5-pound smallmouth like attached to his face, trying to pull the jig out all the way to the boat. So we see it, and immediately Brandon's casting like just whatever he's got. He's like, what do I throw? Trying to catch it. We never caught a single smallmouth off that. But it was funny. And then I caught probably close to a 40-inch pike on my drop shot. Day 1 we were there on Wednesday.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Before we go into day 2, to kind of wrap this up, how'd you almost get knocked out by a pike?
That's the day 2 story.
Okay. Well, that's a great way to start day 2.
Start day 2 with that.
How did day 2 almost end before you got started?
Well, again, I pulled up to my first spot in the morning. I had like my 4th cast, I caught a 4.5 smallmouth, like a 440. My 3rd, like the cast after, I caught a 370. Then the cast after that, I caught another like 3 and change, like a low 3. And then fished around for a few minutes, caught another 3-pounder, caught it like another, I think, heavy 3 or maybe close to 4. All right, my 4th or 5th one was a big one, I think. And then I caught a 4-pound largemouth off of a smallmouth spot again. That was like 430. And then, so my first 5 were like almost 18 on day 2.
Yep.
And then I caught that big one, and that called to like, I don't know.
19-1.
Yeah, 19-1. And then, did I catch that one late in the day? No, I kept fishing around in that area. I finally got another 370 to call out like a 3-0. And I had like, my scale said 1970, and I didn't catch another bass after 8:30. Like, that helped.
Holy hell.
I put together, it was fun right off the bat. But I put together, I had like an almost 18-pound largemouth bag just flipping docks after that. Just hoping for a big one. But I don't know. What time did you pull up there? Around that area? 9? 8?
9:30.
So I came back out there, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm burning a minnow back to the boat.
Yep.
And my line just stops and just goes the other way like 40 yards. And I was like, oh my God, what do I hook now? And I looked at it. I was like looking on scope, and I was like, it's a pike, right?
Yep.
I fought it. It had my last good jig head that I wanted to keep because I only had like 2 left at the time because I kept getting piked and whatever.
Yep.
So I set up a video camera just because I knew it was going to be a while, and I was going to play this fish out until I got it because the jig head was worth it to me at the time. So I fought the thing for about 6 minutes, and I finally got the thing in the boat, and I hold it up like this, and I hold it like this, and as soon as I hold it like this, the thing does like the pike thrash.
Oh yeah.
And I'm holding it like this, and it caught me clean in the jaw this way, and I literally saw stars.
Oh my God.
Split his face open.
Yeah, I literally was bleeding out of my cheek. Like, been hit a couple times, and that one got me. It hit me like square in the chin.
Oh,
I was
they're
like,
strong fish, so I can believe it.
when he went like for his full turn, like just clean clocked me right here.
Jesus.
But yeah, no, I was like, holy crap, that hurt. I remember I didn't sit down, but I kind of like got the fish, took the hook out, and like got him back in. And was like, wow.
Yeah, sit down for a couple seconds, just collect
Just a
thoughts,
second,
let
I
your
was like,
brain
great,
settle.
I'm gonna have a headache the rest of the day.
If it makes you feel any better, literally the only fish I caught on the sniper, I day 2, I ran out. Actually, I want Sean to do his recap, but I'll just tell this really quick. I
good.
started Vermont side, and I went day 2. I'm gonna go New York side because I wasn't sure my spots would really refill for the Vermont side. And on my way out, there's a shoal, a reef that I've been dying to fish, and literally the entire practice there was somebody on it the whole time. Ran out there, there's nobody on there. I'm like, well, I'm gonna stop because I know my spot I'm going to. I never see anybody on, and ended up catching like a 1.5 pound smallie. Boat flipped them in on my spinning rod because they had 12-pound leader, so whatever, it's 1.5 pounds. Flipped them on even a freaking drop shot setup. He hits the deck.
I ball flipped the 470 on 12-pound last week.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, I did not. I thought it was a 3-pounder, and I flipped it in, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
That wasn't smart.
Dan was
Andrew
telling
and
me
I've done that so many times.
Dan Tavilla was telling me he flipped that big one that he caught day 2 of the 470 on 12-pound line, or maybe 14 on a spinning rod.
I'd do that all day as long as it's at least 10. I'll boat flip anything.
Boat flipped it.
Yep. 8-pound, I'm a little more skeptical because one decent hook shake midair and they'll snap off. 10-pound makes a significant difference, and I've boat flipped a lot of fish on that. 12-pound and up, I won't even second guess it. I'll boat flip it. But that little freaking smallmouth, I flipped him in, and I was holding the rod up kind of high so I could like put my hand on the line, slide down, and grab the jig. Well, the moment I started like bending over to go get it, he gave one more good thrash, and my 3/8 ounce sniper popped out and caught me right in the chin. That hurt. It was just like,
yeah.
I was looked down. I was like, I'm not bleeding, but that was dumb. So,
yeah,
hope that makes you feel better. You're not the only one that got friggin'
thrashed
by a fish.
Now,
Here it goes. I was waiting for this.
If we're on this topic right here, I've hit him one time in the wrist with a jig. I think when I was about 6, I hit him. I got a chatterbait, like the little tiny. They're like the hook's literally this big. I got it like a little bit into his back skin.
Oh.
I was telling you about this weekend. I've been hit. I've had double trebles from a silver spook directly in the back of my skull. I've had a frog in the back of the neck where the frog imprint was there, and both the legs on the frog was imprinted in my neck. I've had this 2 weeks ago in a Friday night tournament at night. I got hit in the back of the neck with a spinnerbait, a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait right in the back of the neck, a full cast.
You know what this is?
And then when I was at the Junior Worlds, when I was 12 or 13, 11 or 12, I guess. They were blowing up on Chad, and this is when the Whopper Plopper first came out, and he rips a cast to these shad blowing up, dude. Directly into my spine.
Oh my god.
Like, I've had some bad pain in my life, but that was the worst thing ever because all of my muscles that I used to stand up or move or twitch or like even breathe. I had two double prong Whopper Plopper hooks in my back, in my muscles next to my spine.
And then another single treble.
And a single treble.
The only thing that makes this better is the fact that it's father and son, and your dad's laughing his ass off about this.
Yeah, because he thinks it's hilarious. Every time I give him shit and just nothing changes, I am good. I literally am playing defense while I fish with him the entire time. I duck, I get out of the way. He doesn't see it, but I'm always like...
I'm not good on my back cast, what can I tell you?
No. There's probably more, too.
I did split my daughter's head open with a spinnerbait.
He got my sister with a spinnerbait.
When
Oh
she
my
was like
God.
5, we got 4 staples in her head.
Holy hell.
Yeah, just stay in the back of the boat. He might still get you, but at least you'll be somewhat safe.
We've only had one mishap, and it was me hitting Andrew. And like, I hate to say it, but it was one of those days we were recording that, of all the times that we've had close calls, dude, I fucking wailed him with a jackhammer right upside the head, like perfectly, like coming across and just caught him. And he went down. He ended up going to the doctor 2 days later, and he still had a concussion. So that's my bad.
What, yeah.
Sorry.
Tell you what, a Zara spook in the back of the head doesn't feel good.
We've got good pictures of all of them.
Zara spook, a full cast with a Zara spook doesn't feel good.
No.
You should see his reel after, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that was all cheddar.
Yeah, no good. You want to talk
God.
day 2 then?
Yeah.
So day 2, yeah. So Tanner, well, hang on, Tanner. Before myself and Sean go over it. So you talked about it, but let's talk about how you ended up. I know you were looking for the dub, but you got second, and because of that, you get to go straight to the national championship next year. Which, bravo, sir, because that's fucking awesome.
Appreciate it.
Like that's not easy, and
No.
there's I heard from like 2 people that were like, oh, it was only 23 boats. I'm like, dude, don't sleep on that number, because that
I mean, there was a bunch of tournaments
stacked
out there that definitely had more weight than us, but I mean,
yeah, it doesn't
they live
matter.
up there. The inland sea bass anglers, they live up there.
Yep. And
I mean, I mean, my scale read 20:31 day 1, and I weighed in 20.1, I think, and then day 2 it said I had 19.7 day, and I weighed in like 19.1 or something like that.
Yep.
But I did not catch a bass that helped me after 8:30.
Which is insane, because all my biggest fish came at like between 1:30 and 2:30.
That's what happened. Day 2, I caught a 360 that I called a 322 out with at 140. And I was like, sweet. I said, you know what? Screw it, dude. Like, if they're not there tomorrow morning, they're not there. We're going to go try to burn one more up, and let's try to catch a big one. And I caught that 470 off that spot. And I was like, all right, we're done. Like, we're going to go back to the ramp. I have a school right next to the ramp that you should be able to catch a 3-pounder out of.
Yep.
And I literally let him scope. Like, I panned over, and his drop shot went right in the middle of the mess of them, and they just didn't eat it.
Huh.
But
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I forget. Did you end up having 40, or did you have 30, like high 39 total?
39, 20 something, or 39, 30, something like that.
39, 27, I think. Because
Dan had 1940, and then he had 28.4 the second day.
Yeah, so
we talked about that. He said he found the perch, and I was like, I said I knew in practice that I could catch 18.
Yeah.
I knew I could catch 18 a day. I felt very confident. Most of the time I go up to Champlain just screwing around, I usually have more than 20.
Same.
My biggest Champlain bag is like 23 and change in a day. And that was on the 4th of July this year, which was a mess of people, but they were biting that day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And my buddy caught a 512, so that definitely helped.
Yeah, that certainly helps. I tell you what, that 4 night. Well, I won't get into it. Okay, so we covered you, congratulated you, and I'll say it again. Congratulations on making directly to the national championship next year.
I appreciate it.
Welcome, Sean. Your day 2.
My day 2 was a woulda, coulda, shoulda, I wish it had happened type day. So day 2, was one of the most frustrating days I think I've ever had in the water. I literally lost 3 to 4 pound smallmouth, my first 4 fish. I had pulled up my first little rock pile, one sitting on it. Then I'll let you know right now. I cut all my smallmouth ping in a minnow.
Nice. Okay.
And came right up, ate it, set the hook, had it almost to the boat, let go. No reason why, just gone. Trolling motor over the next rock pile, nobody home. Trolling over the next rock pile, there's one there, flip out. Ding, 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 boom. Fought it all the way to the boat, came off. I'm like, okay, this is frustrating. Went 2 more rock piles, had one on, broke me off. Went to the next rock pile, had a 3.5 on, jumped boat length away, popped off.
Oof.
Yeah, I remember. I got a text in the morning saying, I've lost 4 giants. I text him, I have 19 pounds.
Yeah, it hurt. It hurt. So
He was like, oh my God.
So then I went to the front of St. Albans, poked around, nothing. Went back to the iron. So I told my co-angler, all right, dude, we're gonna go back to the iron. We can at least catch a couple fish there. I got a 13-inch largemouth. My first fish of the day. I'm like, well, I got a fish. It didn't fall off. Ran over towards the New York side.
You just said, I'm going to run 20 miles. I said, I know where he's going.
Went over to the New York side.
I felt bad. I was over there.
Yeah. Well, you saw me there.
Yeah.
left you, drove over to the other marina. Kevin Miller was there. All right, I'm like, well, screw that. I'll go around the other side of the marina. Flip some grass. There was one like nice little matted piece flipped over there. Tunk, set the hook. It was between 4.5 and 5 pound largemouth. Brought her all the way right to the side of the boat. Popped off.
Oh.
So now I have should have probably close to 18 to 19 pounds, and I got one 13-incher in the boat. I would, if I could have cried right then, I probably would have cried. Knowing full well, I needed to catch him. I needed 15 pounds to be safe to get in that top 12 cut.
Yep.
Went into the marina. Kevin was on the other side. Flipped some stuff. Caught a 2.5, 2 3/4. I'm like, oh my God, I got one in the boat. Skipped up between a sailboat and the dock. Got one that was just about 4. So now I got 3. I'm like, all right, at least I'm heading in the right direction. Then went back and fished that spot where you were, nothing. Drove another 20-something miles to the other side of the lake. Got a smallmouth that was almost between 3.5 and 4. And that's the last fish I caught. So I came in with 4 fish for almost 12 pounds. And squeaked out 12th place finish to go to regionals.
See, there you go. So it ended up working out in the end, but yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, in a million years, I did not think I was going to be able to squeak it out. There was 3 guys, I think, that were above me that weighed in 1 or 2 fish. So that kind of helped.
Yeah, it was it was a struggle fest, day 2 for everybody except for freaking Dan and Tanner.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't have been though. I literally should have. I mean, it was like, and I don't know. I don't think I've ever lost that many fish in one day.
Yeah, Ty. I told him about Ty.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. I did lose some good ones in Ty too.
I mean,
Just one of those. I mean, just some days.
It was just like
we had a tournament last summer that I weighed in, I think 11 or 12 pounds, and I should have had 19 to 22. I jumped a 4-pound smallmouth off first thing in the morning and lost every 5-pound largemouth I hooked on a dock. One wraps around, I get it. The rest of them just come off.
It was, the smallmouth, the same rod, same jig head, same minnow. For whatever reason, they decided they didn't want to come in that day.
Yeah.
I mean, everything happens for a reason. I squeaked into 12th, so we're good to go.
There you go, man. And
Dan Tavilla, it was a struggle after 9:30.
Is he lying? Is he talking? Is he
No, we talked about it. And I'll tell you my 2 cents on why, and this might be something people know, might be something people don't know.
before you do though, Dan, if you're still here, congrats on winning, by the way. Congrats.
Yeah,
Now you're
great
going
job,
to
dude.
2024 and 2025 national championship, which is
Yeah.
friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
So congrats. So go ahead, Tanner.
So me and Dad fished the Mallett's Bay Open 2 years ago. The last time he said he'd been on Champlain in the northern section, and we were flogging for smallmouth. And we pull up to our first spot. We had a couple like heavy threes marked, and we couldn't see the bottom. Like it was 10 foot, and like through the light, because the tournament started in the morning, we could not see the bottom. And I was like, this is the low light condition that people talk about. Like you got to catch them in the low light condition in the morning when they can't see as well. So that's like, it kind of clicked to me in the morning. I'm like, if I can catch these fish first thing in the morning when they're stupid and they can't see as well, like just about everyone I casted to in the morning would come right up off the bottom, shake, eat it, swallow the thing. As soon as that sun come out, like 9 to 9:30, like Dan was saying, done.
Yeah.
Although I did go back, day 2, I caught, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 3+, but weren't helper fish.
I could have used him.
In the afternoon. Yeah, he was in eyesight, and he's like, I need those fish. I'm like, all right, I'm leaving. But
I could not catch those fish to save my life.
So they were super smart. Like after, like once the sun come up, it was like you had to do something ridiculous to get them to bite. And some of them wouldn't eat. Some of them would follow it all the way up and wouldn't eat it. But like there was a couple little things I was doing that somehow got them to trigger. So
it's funny you bring that up because my day 1, I had 16.09, which is respectable. Not a big bag, but it kept me in the hunt. Kept me in the conversation. I was grateful for that. And most of the areas I was fishing, water was pretty stained. And so, but I was concerned because we didn't really crack them. We didn't catch a lot of fish. And
I didn't. Day 1,
scouting, but no, I think collectively we probably caught maybe 12 fish between me and Tanner Thompson, my co-angler for the day on day 1. So, again, going into day 1, I was like, well, I either go to Vermont or go to New York. And my New York spot has never let me down, but that's a long run. And the the Vermont spot, I was concerned somebody else would get in there and beat the piss out of it if I didn't try. And I got lucky day 1. I went in there and I had it alone. I had all 3 of my spots I worked alone the entire weekend on that Vermont side. So day 2, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to run up to New York because I just don't know what's going to happen over there. And that water was still kind of stained over on the New York side where I wanted to be. And I felt like, okay, it's going to be high sun. It's supposed to be kind of calm, but it's also be a little bit windier in the morning. And, with it being the south, it's going to blow right into my spot. And I think it might help. Nope. I got out there. That's the first time I fished this spot, which I found last year scouting for the BFL. This is the first time I've been there out of 20 times I fished it that didn't pan out. Like I didn't even catch a squeaker out of that spot.
No.
So I started working my way down south from there. And my second spot, I got my first 2 fish. The very first spot was the reef, and I got 2 squeakers off that.
Yeah.
And then went to my best spot, and nothing. So I ran down to my next 2 spots, nothing on the third spot, and then I ran down to where I saw your dad. I'd caught, I forget, probably like a 2.5 pound largie. I hooked another one that I'm pretty sure was about 3.5, and on a Senko, and he wrapped me around one of those stupid jug buoys that were just sitting there floating. And I literally remember, like, I'm trying to pull him and get him back, and I can see him going for him, like, please don't. And I see him wrap, and then the whole freaking bottle swinging. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And he came off of it, and they kind of just slow playing him back to the boat, and he started coming up perfect. And I learned a valuable lesson on trying to remember what I do with my leaders here. Usually when I fish like a Senko and a spinning rod, I've got braid to 12-pound leader or 15-pound leader. Usually do 12. Plenty to swing
at 8, 10?
Nope. And I went to go swing him, and as soon as I put a little tension on it, pink, off he goes. And I'm sure it was probably some abrasion from getting hung up on the buoy anyway, but I sat there stewing for a second, and then I went and I was like, oh yeah, I was throwing 8-pound on this because I was throwing a 1/4-ounce sniper on it during scouting, and I forgot to retie that leader. Yeah. So I had no business flipping him anyway, but so that was a dumb mistake. That was
I've done that.
like around 10:30. And at
Yeah.
that point, so I only had 4 bites, and I dropped my fourth. So I only had 3 in the boat. None of them were really good. And one of them was 13 inches. It was barely 13 inches and not even a pound smallmouth. And I tell you, literally the only, like, I don't watch anything on YouTube because I just don't have the time. I'm either making my own content or I'm at work or I'm with my family. So
Yeah.
the only person I watch is Polnick. And I remember there was a recent tournament where he was like, I almost let the devil win. That's literally how I felt. Because, dude, I had to lie down for 5 minutes. I was fuming. I was seeing red. I was beyond bullshit with myself, the situation, the fish not cooperating. So I just laid down on my deck and I was just drifting with whatever wind there was. I don't even know where the hell I was. And I just laid down and breathing exercise. It's just like, dude, get your shit together. And like, let's go back. Those other spots probably be good by now. If nobody else has hit them, and I was confident nobody did, then let's go make something happen. Ran over there, and my first spot that I had all alone first thing, day 1, nobody was there. 3 casts in with a jackhammer, I caught a really sickly looking largemouth. Like, okay, fish number 4, not a problem.
Yeah.
Nothing after that. Go to the second spot and caught, I forget. It was a decent smallmouth, but it took a while to get him. So, all right, finally. I got a limit. That's all I'm grateful for. Then I ran back to my third spot, which is in between spots 1 and 2. And it took me like probably 5 minutes. And it's this one spot where it's like exposed ledge in 20-ish feet. And there's some vegetation kind of all around it. But there's the exposed ledge face.
I like that stuff.
And then on top of it, about 15 feet away from the exposed ledge face, there was like a line of rocks on top of it. And I was either getting them on the ledge or on the rocks. So look at the rocks, nothing. Look back at the ledge. All of a sudden, I just see a faint mark, probably 20 feet from me, but I could see it swimming. I had a drop shot. At that point, I had caught nothing on the green pumpkin max scent minnow. So I changed it up and I went with something I'm not going to talk about, but if somebody saw it, it's really not that big of a secret, but I want to keep this one for me. And just put on drop shot, flip it out, maybe 20, 25 feet in front of me, drop it down as the first. And I had just put this bait on. I think it was the second pitch with it. Fish immediately went up, came right down, thunk, and that was that 496 smallmouth. So my first call,
That's a big one. Yeah, I remember that one.
496 smallie called out my 13-inch smallie. So I was like, okay, now we're feeling really good because I just called up over 4 pounds.
Yeah.
So I take a minute. I'm like, okay, we're good. We're fine. We're just relax, Sean. You're good. So then I get back up there, quick scope around, see if there's anybody else just hang on the edge. And I go to the far side of it, and I see another fish swimming just gently, maybe 60 feet away. Flip a drop shot out, 3 1/4 smallie. So I got the 496 and a 3 1/4 back to back. I'm like, okay, awesome. I just went up probably like 5.5 pounds on my limit in 2 casts. I can do this. Yeah. I got one more keeper after that, and I had used the balance beam for it, and it was like 5 degrees off of level. So it was probably like a 1.5 ounce cull. But regardless, like I think that literally that fish was the difference between finishing 7th instead of 8th. But, and then I had one of my fish cough up like a 7-inch yellow perch one day, and I think that would have been the difference between 7th and 6th. But
yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah, but that was it. Was I caught all my fish day 1 was green pumpkin max scent minnow on a drop shot, jackhammer first thing in the morning with the Dexty Dew Grub from Crazy Hickbait Company as my trailer. I grabbed a bag, I looked at it, I'm like, you know what? That actually probably make a really good trailer and just be just different enough that I think it'll work instead of to sell from everybody else's jackhammers. And it worked great in practice. I caught 4 1/4 smallie on it on my first spot on the Vermont side. Ran back out there. That's where I caught my 2 3-pound-ish largies right in the first 5 minutes on day 1. That was great. So it was that and drop shot. But really that swing head jig, day 1. Day 2, it was everything that I ended up weighing in all came on the drop shot. I didn't get a single fish on anything heavy.
I don't think I caught a fish on a drop shot all weekend.
I caught 2 on day 1 on a drop shot that I weighed. I caught none on day 2 on a drop shot that weighed. Day 1 I caught 2 on a drop shot that weighed, 2 on a minnow, and 1 on a jig.
Yes.
I had nice. 2 green ones and 3 brown ones on day 1, and I had 1 green one and 4 brown ones day 2.
Yeah, so I ended up with all the smallmouth I caught was ping and a minnow, and all the largemouth I caught half-ounce weight, and a Pit Boss, which I hardly ever flip, but it seemed right. Green Pumpkin Pit Boss.
I had I actually was fishing a Jika rig during scouting. That worked out really well.
The thing with the weight on the bottom.
Yeah,
and
it's
the line
essentially
goes through it.
No, that would be like a free rig. A Jika rig is almost the same thing, but it's like a pencil drop shot weight that's already attached via a split ring to the line tie on a hook, like an EWG hook.
Similar to a Toko rig, but it's
Tokyo
already
rig.
weight. Yeah.
Yep. And the only reason I did that was because my co-angler at the BFL crushed them on it. And I'm like, I know what that is. I've worked a free rig. I've worked a Tokyo rig, but I never worked that. So I bought them the week after that BFL. I'm like, I'm just going to have these for when I go up to Champlain next time because they might play, they might not. Dude, in scouting, I caught a handful of really good fish on it, including a 4 1/4 largie and the, not the Pit Boss, but the Flippin' Delight from Beast Coast Fishing. And I pulled out the little feelers in between the legs and I pulled out the side appendages. So it almost looked like Pit Boss, where it's just the body and 2 legs. But that's what they wanted. I couldn't get them to bite it if I left everything else on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was good. Overall, all in all, I really wanted to win, and that was what I went in there trying to do. Quickly realized that it was probably unlikely after day one, being 4 pounds behind Tanner, but not completely out of it. You know how it is up there. I mean, Christ,
anybody can go from hero to zero. I mean, it just matters what the fish are doing, especially, the part about the smallmouth is, so like day one, I caught those 3 over 3 on that one rock.
Yep.
Day 2 rolled up, not a fish in sight.
Damn.
But that's what they do though. They move. The smallmouth just move.
Yeah.
And so, Tanner was obviously on a school, and it sounds like you were too. I was more hunting individual fish on rocks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I tried doing that, and that was really Friday, because Wednesday and Thursday I found the pattern held up from the BFL, and I went and I worked that, and it was consistent, and I was happy. And then Friday, I was like, you know what? Let's go out here for like 10 hours, and let's spend the first 6-ish hours like trying for a deep bite, and see if like individual boulders or just like deep rock piles, like really sexy, obvious rock piles, like any of those will pan out. And I couldn't make any of it work. For the last like 3 or 4 hours we're out there, I'm like, well, let's go back through and run the same pattern, just in spots we haven't touched yet.
That's about exactly what I did.
It's like, okay, never mind. We're going to stick with that the whole weekend because it has not failed once in 3 days. And it almost failed, but it ended up working out okay. I only caught 8 fish. I hooked into 9 fish. I hooked into 9 and landed 8 on day 2. That was it. It was very, very slow for numbers.
Hey Sean, I'm gonna check out, dude.
No, it's fine. You know what? I was literally about to say that we did everything. We covered everybody's day 1, day 2, kind of what we were doing, what we were looking for. And I was hoping to keep this close to an hour anyway, so this is perfect. So if there's anything you have, Sean, before you go for a parting thought, before Tanner does his, then please take the minute, use the platform, do your thing.
Yeah, so the only thing I can say is that if anybody ever wants to volunteer to take out high school anglers, we are always in need of more boats to take kids out. And that's kind of like my flag carrying piece there, that, we have a ton of bass anglers in the state of New Hampshire. And the middle school and high school kids are kind of the future of our sport. And the more that we can get those guys on the water, the more that we can continue the tradition of the tournaments that we already have going on.
Agreed.
Yep. So for those that are listening, whether it's live right now or after the fact when it's up, if you yourself cannot do it for any reason, or you're just not interested, that's totally fine as well. I understand that. If you just know anybody that might be remotely interested, bring it up. And then with that, Sean, what's the best way, if someone is specifically themselves or someone they know is interested in getting involved, what's the best way for them to get in touch with the state to say, hey, I am willing to help out?
Probably the easiest thing is just to contact me directly, and then I can point them in the right direction.
Okay.
So they can either Facebook me, message me, Sean Graves, or they can Instagram Graves Family Outdoors.
Perfect.
And I guess I can share my 603-398-3075. They can text message me.
There you go. Can't make it any easier than that. You got every possible avenue to reach out to Sean if you're interested, or if you know somebody else that's interested. I will tell you, it is a very fulfilling experience 95% of the time.
95.
Ever 100%.
I mean, you literally, we have everybody from kids that are just barely learning with the, they're not quite Zebco kids, but they're close,
Yeah.
But then, you have kids that, are familiar with electronics and know what they're doing. But, when you're on the boat, like I was on Winnie last week, and it wasn't a giant smallmouth, but the kid caught a 3.17 smallmouth. That was his biggest smallmouth he's ever caught.
Yeah.
And the kid was ecstatic.
Yeah.
When you can help kids out do that kind of thing, it's pretty cool.
Every year, the first 4 years I coached for Hillsborough Deering, every year I got 2 kids on their PBs, and it was seriously the 100%. Most magical experience to watch.
100%.
How excited they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I tell you. All right, Sean, thank you.
See ya.
The best was just a couple weeks ago with the kid, Andrew's nephew, who's on the Amherst team, catching that 8.14 largie. That was dumb.
I saw that. I was like, I ain't calling that big, dude.
Dude, no, me either. Literally none of us have my friends. Everybody that I know has not caught one over 8. And we're out there for like an hour and a half. Dude, the first like 5 minutes, we're scoping because I was like, okay, you're going to go up for Winnie, so we got to get your practice on scoping. And then we see a big mark, and I'm like, yeah, go for it. And he pitches his jig, goes right down, boom, 5.5. So he went up 2 pounds on the first fish from his previous PB to the new PB. And then an hour later, he sticks that 8.14. And I'm like,
dude,
I am 90%
every story
happy
I hear is like some kid goes down to the bank and hucks a Senko out there and catches a 7-pounder. And you look at the picture of it, and you're like, yeah, it is.
Yep.
Like I fished my entire life, casted I don't know how many thousands and thousands of times. I ain't even caught a 7.
I've got 1 over 7. One largemouth over 7. I got 2 smallies over 7 this year. It's kind of weird. I have more 7-pound smallmouth than largemouth, which is just not right.
You got to go to the dang St. Lawrence, though. You lucky bugger.
I'm going back next year for the last week of the Canadian.
I've been wanting to go. We almost went me and my buddy almost just said, screw this, and went for 3 days this year. But what time of year did you go?
We literally went the last 4 days of the early season opener on the Canadian side. So which ended the May 10th was the last day you could be out on the water.
So it's normal. You didn't catch them spawning, did you?
No, God no. Water was the warmest water we found was 52.
Okay, so that was early then.
Yep.
Although they'll spawn in that. Oh, no, not quite. A little early.
No, I would say
56.
Bingo. I was going to say 55, 56, I think is the earliest we've ever seen like a deep smallmouth on a bed. And even then, that's rare.
That's
usually
early,
like 58 is like, confidently
I mean, my home lake,
big, deep girl.
My home lake, if you're on there May 7th, no matter what the time of year is, it doesn't matter. That's the time. It doesn't matter what kind of spraying, it always falls that day.
Yeah. Just
that's
wild.
the day.
Those fish have that internal clock, and they're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm supposed to be doing this today.
Yeah. Whether it's 55 or 62 or whatever, they're going to be there.
Yep.
Some of them are, at least. The big ones.
Yeah.
But
all right, man. Well, we have covered everything. So if there's do you have any parting thoughts before we go? Anybody you want to thank? Anything you want to promote?
I'd like to thank my father for everything he's done for me and being able to compete and do this stuff and help me with the boat and rigging stuff and take me fishing since I was 7 and fish tournaments, or else I'd have no idea what I was doing.
Yep.
So I really appreciate everything he's done for me, for sure.
Nice. Good.
So,
well, Boat Potato, we're not going to talk about Sean's 9. We can't talk about that. I'm bitter.
What's that? Yeah,
Boat Potato,
right.
did your dad catch
I remember getting that phone call, and I was like, he's like, I think I caught the biggest bass in my life. I said, are you kidding me? I don't know how many. We never don't fish together hardly, like unless we're practicing for a singles tournament or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. Yeah, I think it's my biggest one ever. I was like, well, you've caught a 6'11", another high 6. I'm like, how big is it? He's like, I don't know, probably 7. He's like, it's got to be 7. And I was like, I said, all right, weigh it. So he gets it out on the scale, and we're on. I don't remember if we were on I think we were on FaceTime. Or no, I was on call to start with. He's like 9, and I was like, you're messing with me. I said, what's it actually weigh? And he's like, no, it's 9.25, 9.25, 9 pound 4 ounces. I said, FaceTime me. I gotta see it. And it never does it justice. But he was like, you should have seen this thing.
No, yeah, that's how I felt about the Jackson's freaking 8. Like,
yeah, unreal. Like, you fish your whole life, and I don't know. I can't stumble into one that big.
Me either. That 7 pound 5 ounce smallie I caught in the St. Lawrence is the closest I'll get.
That's a giant.
I've gotten to something like that, dude. That was like the picture. It was not the greatest of angles, but it just didn't do it justice. When I turned it sideways to see the gut, like that to me was like the defining, like, that's built different than anything else most people have seen.
I've lost one over 6 for sure. I touched one over 6 at the boat for sure, but my biggest is 5'6".
That's still a tank.
I've caught, I don't know, 5 or 6 5-pounders, 4 or 5 pounders, 5 5-pounders, I think, smallmouth.
Yep.
But that's all around my place. I haven't caught a 5-pounder on Champlain. I've caught 480s, 470s, 460s. I have not caught 1.5.
That 496 is the biggest smallmouth I've caught on Champlain.
Yeah, no, dude, that's a giant. They don't get over 5 very often there.
No.
There's a lot of 440s kicking around, but that's a big one.
Yeah, that was, dude, I'm not kidding. Like, I caught it, and like it did one pretty good jump, and then it came up and kind of like not tail walked but face walked, and I'm like, please don't, please don't. I really need this fish. I really, really, really fucking need this fish.
Yeah.
And I finally got my hand on it, and I was just like, I do the same thing in every tournament. I kind of look at it, but I don't really look at it because I just know that I need it.
Yeah, you said it was at the end of the day. You said it was 4.25. You said I got one 4.25. I was like, all right.
I really thought it was 4.25. I didn't bother weighing it because I knew it was my biggest and it wasn't catching the crap out of him. So like, you know, like I just don't waste that time because I really just don't give a shit. These are gonna be bigger. It's not.
I catch 5, and on my 6 bass, I weigh them all real quick. I see what I got. I see my smallest one. I put call tags on them the whole 9 yards. It takes me probably 2 or 3 minutes, and then the rest of the day it's just number 3 gone, number 4 gone.
Yeah.
And that just, I mean, I take the couple minutes to save me time later in the day, and then that saves you from calling too many fish or having too many fish in your live well the whole 9 yards like that. That's just my system. That seems to be pretty bulletproof.
Yeah.
Seems to work anyway.
The one thing that works for me is I use my color system. White is always on my biggest and yellow is always on my smallest. And I just work from there. And I'm moving around, and I carry 6 call tags with me for a 5-fish event. So when I catch one and I know I'm going to cull, that 6th one goes on him. And I know that when I'm done, I need to have an empty call tag in my hand. Yeah. It's about as foolproof as I can make it while also being extremely time efficient. That's
a good system too. Yeah. I have one extra call tag, but I have one without a ball on it, but I know it's number 4. So like,
yeah,
I have them all, and I have them in the Bubba, and that thing's been awesome too.
I gotta buy one because I have my Brecknell and I love it. It's dead accurate.
You gotta.
The Bubba. Well, I had Andrews, and then he moved, and then I did all that work to my boat with Steve at Bass Fishing Electronics, and I was like, okay, I really got to get a Bubba. But then I ended up spending an extra $100 more than I thought I was going to with Steve because they were like, do you want us to do this, this, and this? I'm like, you know what? Let's just get it done and get as much of this done in one shot. And I'm at the checkout, and he had the really nice $200 Bubba right there. I'm like, if I buy that right now, as much as I want it, my wife will kill me. I cannot do this. I will wait.
Right.
But
yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know. Congrats again, man. Like, seriously, happy for you. Very proud of you. It was a hell of a tournament.
I
get to go straight to nationals, and maybe I'll see you there in 2026.
Yeah.
Actually, no, maybe I'll see you there in 2025 because I think, what is it, top 20 in the regional go straight to the national championship for that same year.
Do you know where the regional is going to be at?
No, although I went and looked back because if it's the Potomac, I'm not going. It's the only place I won't go for a number of reasons. But they were at the. I don't know anything about tidal fisheries. I know it's really dangerous at low tide. It's expensive just to go there because it's a hell of a drive. I'd need at least a full week with 2 days just to like go confidently be able to run it, knowing I'm not going to run ashore or hit any stumps or anything. And then I need at least 5 days to go and figure out how to fish a tidal fishery. Like that's a hell of a commitment. So I don't know. Could I swing it?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I get you. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's the thing about like down south fisheries. I don't have much white stuff in my boat besides stuff for the shad on the river. And I mean, dude, like the scroungers and the whole 9 yards of that stuff. That's something that's like, at Gunnersville, we didn't like know any better. Then we got a bunch of crankbaits and stuff, but we didn't really have an idea of exactly what was going to go on down there. So hopefully it's in a northern fishery, which is the word on the street. But
I think it will be, because last year was the Potomac. So
I wouldn't mind if it was down south, because that gives me experience down there and kind of at least get some experience down south again. I mean, I went to South Carolina, I went to Gunnersville, and then I went to the Mississippi River. So I've experienced those places, but
I wonder if Smith Mountain Lake would be considered for the Northeast. That's the only other place I could think of. South.
I'd love to go to the St. Lawrence. I'd love to go to St. Lawrence just to fish, but if we went to St. Lawrence, I'd really have to put my time in this next summer. Whatever the off limits are, I don't know what they're going to be, but
yeah, I'm thankful that I've already gone up there the last 5 years. 4 out of the last 5 years. Yeah, that's right. And the first 2 trips we were up there for 9 days at a time. So like we covered a lot of water in there. So like I've already put in a decent amount of time. It's still a drop in the bucket compared to the place, but out of other people that are, from our area, I've put in more time than the majority. So
have you been to a lake at all?
Up there. Oh yeah. Dude, the first year we went there in 2019, I ran my 19-foot skeeter out to Maine Duck Island, which is 20 miles offshore. Into Lake Ontario. Straight out. Pinned the whole way out. It took 45 minutes to get out there because it was glass for the first like 8 miles, and then the last 12 miles it was like 2 to 3 foot rollers, but they were super spaced out, so the fastest I go was like 30 without jumping them.
My had a bit of an ouchie on day one. I didn't mean to. He has a bad back, and I saw a couple, and I like knew what was coming. I tried to time it. I hit for me it didn't hurt anything, but like where he was sitting, I guess he hurt his back. But he was.
Yeah, I did.
By the way,
day 2.
I don't think my co is watching this, but my day 1 co was awesome.
Nice, good.
Like one of the best co anglers I've had.
Yeah. Oh, I never get to finish my thought with your dad when he was talking about Tanner Thompson earlier. But so parting thought for everybody here. When it comes to fishing with co-anglers, my buddy Chris, who's in the background, you can't see him, you can't hear him, nothing. But he was like, so when you fish with a co-angler in an event like this, like, how does that work? Do you have to help them or not? And I was like, actually, you're not obligated to help them whatsoever, but I enjoy helping people anyway. And as long as it doesn't completely hinder like what I need to do for the day to make sure that I'm as successful as possible,
their own thing,
I will help immensely. Yep. And
I told him, I said, we're going to be around fish all day. Like, just be paid. Like you will catch them eventually. Yep. And he had one decent one. I figured on my first spot, I was like kind of scared. I was like, he's gonna like pull a couple I need off for tomorrow. Like there's quite a few here, but I don't know like if it's gonna reload or whatnot. But no, it worked out good. He had a good day. It was a lot of fun.
Nice, good man. That's what I like to hear.
So,
all right, this actually went on a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, and I still actually have work to do, which I'm not thrilled about, but it is what it is. So, all right, man. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for coming on. Tell your dad I said thank you again as well.
I will.
For everybody still here, thank you for watching the whole night. Greatly appreciate you. I don't know what we're doing next week, but Dennis will be back. He couldn't make it tonight because he was at work off-site, so he had a very long day. But from this point moving forward, we're back here in the studio. We're going to do some stuff in the background. We're going to change some things around. Just changes. But we're back here consistently for months. I don't have any travel plans coming up, so we're done. We're here. So every Wednesday night, 8 p.m., youtube.com/@ReelNorthernBass. We do the Reel Northern Bass live talk, and looking forward to see you guys next week. Thank you again, Tanner. Appreciate you, buddy. I think he's already gone. It's all good. Yep. All right, everybody. Have a great night.